All right, and now let's finally wire everything up. Where in the register, I want to display the alert if one of the values is missing. And first, what we want to do, remember, we have the handle change function. And what are we looking for there? We're looking for the event. Now, more specifically, each and every time we're going to be typing something in the input, we can set the values. Now, since we have the object, we want to return all the values that are in the object. And then since we have access to event target, and then more specifically, name, and then the value, I want to dynamically set that property with this value in the object. Now, if you're somewhat iffy on this syntax, please follow this link where I explain everything in great detail. Basically, this is one of my JavaScript nuggets video where I cover what are the dynamic object keys and why we would want to use them. Now, once we're done with that, once we can actually change the state values in such a way, then we want to get the display alert function. And this is the case where I'm not going to show you the code. Just try to think that display alert is in the app context, correct? And we already have access to it. We're already getting two values. So now we just need to add that function. And then on submit, we're still preventing the default. So we don't want to get the default behavior. But then in there, we want to access name, email, password, and member. And then we want to check whether the values are there. And technically, you can make an argument that I can check for if email, if password doesn't exist, or if name. But keep in mind also that I only care about the name if the user is not a member. Remember, if I'm just logging in, I'm looking for email and password. That's it. I don't really care about the name since the input is actually not here at all. So therefore, I'm going to go here with one more condition where I'm going to say, if it's not a member, then I want the name. Hopefully this makes sense. And if that is the case, then we want to run display the alert. So if everything is correct, we should see that alert, correct? And then eventually we also want to log the values if everything is correct. So let's try this out. Or first, let's go to a register. Let's keep on scrolling. And then remember the handle change. And remember how we were console logging. So now what we want to do is to go with set values. And then since I don't want to overwrite the values, I'm going to go with ... and then values. So that gets me all the current values that are in the state. And then comma. And then let's dynamically access the property that is equal to a name of the input. So that was the whole point why we were passing them in. Notice how they match exactly what we have in the state. And the way we do that, we go here with a square brackets, and then let's just pass it in as event, target, and then name. Now that will be equal to event, target, and value. Again, if you need a refresher on why we would want to access the keys in such a way, please reference the JavaScript nuggets video. And with this in place, we can actually test it out quickly. So let me navigate to the big screen here. And then notice if I'm going to be typing something on email, I'm going to be updating the state, correct? So if I'm going to be typing something in the password, I'm also going to be updating that value in the state. And then the same goes for the member, of course, because that one we already set up before. So once we have this functionality in place, now we just need to work on the submit. Like I said, we want to set up the condition where I want to check for the values. And if one of them is missing, then we'll throw the display alert. Now, before we can do anything, remember, we need to get it from the context. So we're going to go after show alert, and we'll go with display and alert. That was the function. As long as we're passing it from the context, we should be good. So let me save this one. And then what I'm looking for here is the onSubmit. And then, like I said, let's first grab those values from the state. Let's destructure them. I think it's going to be faster. And then let's check for the empty ones. So I'm looking for name. I'm looking for email. I am looking for the password and also is member, because depending on this value, we will call a specific function. Now that is coming up, not for now. Now, once I have pulled them out, then I want to go with if, and then if the email is missing, then I want to throw this one. Same goes for password. So let's just say here password. And then, like I said, I also want to do the same thing with the name, but only if it's not a member. So say here, if is member, and then I'll go with name. So only if the name is missing, then we want to display the alert. And now let's call the function. Notice how we don't need to do anything, and I'll return it. So I'll say, if this is the case, let's return. Now, if it's not a case, then let's log the values. Let's say here, values. And now let's test it out again on a big screen, since we have a little bit more room over there. So I have the console, and if everything is correct, once I click, yep, I have the error. Why? Well, because we haven't provided the values. However, if I'm going to go here with something, let's just say email, and then some kind of password. Now, I believe we'll have to add here at least. Otherwise, there's going to be a bug. And if I click, everything is going to be fine. Why? Well, because I have is member true. So this is going to be a scenario if the user is already a member. Now, we still have the alert. We'll work on that one next, where we actually dynamically hide it. But let me just test it out one more time, where if the user is not a member, and I try to do the same thing, where basically I'm going to go with email at Gmail, and then let's provide some kind of password, and let's try to submit. Now I'll have all the values. And only if I either switch to a login or if I provide the actual name, then everything is going to be fine. Again, this alert will stay for now. We haven't handled that yet, but if everything is correct, notice how now we are correctly console logging everything. And with this in place, now we can start working on hide alert functionality.